The chill of a Parisian night, February 14, 2017, carried with it not the warmth of romance, but the icy shock of footballing humiliation. Parc des Princes, usually a cauldron of fervent support, became the stage for an almost unthinkable dismantling. Paris Saint-Germain, a club long yearning for European validation, delivered a performance of breathtaking ferocity, tearing apart FC Barcelona, the titans of the modern game, with a clinical 4-0 scoreline. This was not merely a defeat, it was an emphatic declaration, a seemingly insurmountable barrier erected between one of football's most celebrated dynasties and their enduring continental aspirations. For Barcelona, the result felt like an existential crisis, a public reckoning. With the fragility of even the greatest empires, the world watched, stunned, as the narrative of dominance shattered into 1,000 pieces under the Parisian lights. The reverberations of that night were profound, extending far beyond the confines of the stadium. Sports analysts dissected every pass, every tackle, every tactical misstep, concluding with a near-unanimous verdict: the tie was over. History itself stood as a formidable witness. No team in the history of the UEFA Champions League had ever recovered from a 4-goal deficit in the knockout stages. The statistics were damning, the precedent non-existent for the players, the coaches, and the millions of fervent supporters associated with the Catalan club. The reality was a bitter pill. Hope, a currency abundant in football, seemed to have been devalued to worthlessness. The dream of lifting the coveted trophy, a ritualistic pursuit for Barcelona, appeared to have evaporated into the cold Parisian air. Yet within the bleak landscape of what seemed an inevitable exit, a faint, almost imperceptible flicker of defiance persisted. It was a defiant whisper against the roaring chorus of doubt, a stubborn refusal to accept the predetermined outcome. This was not merely about winning a football match. It was about confronting the perceived limits of possibility, about challenging the very fabric of sporting logic. The second leg, scheduled for March 8 at Barcelona's iconic Camp Nou, transformed from a mere formality into a crucible of expectation and an improbable test of human will. The stage was set not just for a game, but for an examination of belief, resilience, and the capacity for the extraordinary. The challenge facing Barcelona was monumental, almost fantastical. To merely win was insufficient. They needed to score at least 5 goals without reply, or an even greater number if Paris Saint-Germain managed to find the net. The weight of this task pressed down with crushing force, casting a long shadow over the preparations. Every training session, every tactical discussion, every quiet moment of contemplation was imbued with the enormity of the deficit. The global footballing community, while acknowledging the slim mathematical chance, largely dismissed the prospect of such a recovery as an exercise in futility. The narrative had already been written. Paris Saint-Germain would advance, and Barcelona would face a summer of introspection and painful reform. But sometimes, in the most dire of circumstances, when all rational hope has dissipated, the human spirit finds a way to redefine what is possible, to conjure a miracle from the jaws of statistical impossibility. This was the silent, almost desperate prayer that echoed through the streets of Barcelona as the return leg approached. A plea for the unprecedented, a yearning for a story that transcended the boundaries of sport. In the aftermath of that staggering defeat, the initial paralysis within the Barcelona camp slowly gave way to a defiant resolve. Luis Enrique, the team's manager, faced a media barrage, yet his public demeanor signaled a nascent shift from despair to a flicker of audacious hope. He articulated a simple, yet profoundly challenging vision. If Paris Saint-Germain could score 4 goals, his team possessed the inherent capacity to score 6. This declaration, initially met with widespread skepticism and even derision, served as a rallying cry, a potent psychological anchor for a squad reeling from an unprecedented setback. It wasn't merely a statement, it was an intentional planting of a seed of possibility in barren ground, a direct challenge to the accepted wisdom of the game. The psychological warfare extended beyond the manager's pronouncements. Internally, the focus sharpened. Training sessions became crucibles of intense preparation, marked by an almost feverish concentration. Players, individually and collectively, began to process the humiliation not as an end, but as a catalyst. The traditional Barcelona philosophy, rooted in intricate possession and patient build-up, underwent a subtle but significant adaptation for this specific encounter. The tactical blueprint for the return leg necessitated a more aggressive, direct approach, prioritizing verticality and relentless pressing from the first whistle. It was a calculated risk, a departure from their established rhythm, designed to overwhelm the Parisian defense and exploit any nascent uncertainty. Furthermore, the club's fervent supporters, initially shell-shocked, began to mobilize. A palpable current of anticipation, bordering on fervent belief, started to ripple through the city. Social media platforms buzzed with calls for an unprecedented show of unity. Banners were unfurled, chants rehearsed, and a collective determination to transform the iconic Camp Nou into an impenetrable fortress of sound and fury began to coalesce. This wasn't simply about cheering, it was about creating an atmosphere so intensely hostile to the opposition, so overwhelmingly supportive of the home side, that it might just tip the scales of fate. The concept of home advantage was about to be stretched to its absolute limit, a force multiplier for a team facing an almost impossible task. Consider now the immense internal pressure on the key protagonists. For Lionel Messi, Neymar Jr., and Luis Suarez, the attacking trident, the burden was immense. Their individual brilliance, often the decisive factor in Barcelona's triumphs, now faced its ultimate test. They understood that mere moments of individual genius would be insufficient. A concerted, almost superhuman collective effort was required. Each player had to transcend their usual performance metrics, to push beyond their perceived limits, to find an extra gear of intensity and precision. The challenge was not just to score goals, but to sustain an unrelenting assault, to maintain belief even as the clock relentlessly ticked away. Another crucial layer to this unfolding drama was the historical context of FC Barcelona itself. The club's motto, Més que un club, more than a club, encapsulated a spirit of resilience and a commitment to a particular style of play that transcended mere results. While this philosophy had been shaken in Paris, it now served as a bedrock. The idea that this club, with its storied history of overcoming adversity and producing moments of breathtaking football, might still conjure a miracle, however remote, resonated deeply. It was a call to arms, a reminder of past glories and the inherent capacity for the spectacular embedded within their very identity. The stage was set not for a simple football match, but for an epic narrative of redemption, where the collective will of a team and its supporters would confront the cold, hard logic of statistics, daring to dream of an outcome that defied all rational expectation. Prior to this pivotal juncture in their continental aspirations, FC Barcelona had navigated a landscape fraught with a distinct set of challenges. The club, accustomed to reigning supreme on the European stage, had experienced a period marked by an almost gnawing frustration in the Champions League. Successive eliminations in the quarter-final stages of preceding tournaments, notably against a resolute Atletico Madrid on 2 occasions, had cast a long shadow over their recent achievements. These were not mere defeats, they represented a recurring obstacle, a psychological barrier that tested the very resilience of the squad and the coaching staff. Such earlier exits, while not catastrophic, served as poignant reminders of the unforgiving nature of elite European competition, instilling a deep-seated desire to overcome these historical impediments and reclaim their position at the pinnacle. Delving into the immediate lead-up to the knockout phase of the 2016-2017 Champions League campaign, one discovers the initial steps and trials the team endured. Barcelona's progression through the group stage, while ultimately successful, was not without its moments of intense scrutiny. The opening match, a dominant display against Celtic, offered a glimpse of their attacking prowess, yet subsequent encounters, particularly a surprising defeat away to Manchester City, exposed vulnerabilities. This specific loss, a 3-1 reverse, served as an early warning, a crack in the armor that analysts and rivals alike observed with keen interest. It underscored that even a team of Barcelona's pedigree was susceptible to determined opposition and that their path through Europe would demand unwavering concentration and tactical adaptability. As the draw for the knockout phase approached, the anticipation within the footballing world reached a fever pitch. The pairing with Paris Saint-Germain, a club rapidly ascending the European hierarchy with significant investment and ambition, was immediately recognized as a formidable hurdle. There was no sense of an easy passage, rather a prevailing acknowledgement of the French champions' burgeoning strength. Their roster boasted a blend of established talent and emerging stars, signaling a genuine threat. This was not a side to be underestimated, and the looming clash was widely predicted to be a tightly contested affair, a true test of tactical acumen and individual brilliance. The encounter represented a significant early round examination for Both clubs' European credentials, a clash of titans in the making. Within the hallowed halls of the club itself, an almost palpable sense of expectation always accompanied the Champions League anthem. The institution's philosophy, deeply ingrained in its fabric, demanded not just participation but triumph. This inherent pressure, a constant companion to every Barcelona squad, served as a unique formative trial. Players arriving at Camp Nou quickly understood that domestic success, while cherished, was merely a precursor to the ultimate validation sought on the continental stage. The weight of history, the legacy of past European champions, and the fervent desires of millions of supporters coalesced into an internal force, pushing every individual to excel. This collective aspiration, bordering on an imperative, shaped daily training, tactical discussions, and the mental preparation for every European fixture. Consequently, this historical backdrop, coupled with the immediate challenges faced during the current season's early rounds, imbued the forthcoming contest with a magnified significance. The team had already navigated moments of doubt and had been reminded of the razor-thin margins at the elite level. The collective memory of those preceding European exits, rather than paralyzing them, had forged a certain steely determination. It was a subtle, yet profound, evolution in their collective mindset, a quiet resolve born from past adversity. The stage was thus set for an encounter that would not only determine their progression in the tournament but also serve as a profound testament to their capacity for overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds, building upon all the trials that had preceded it. The monumental task of overturning a 4-goal deficit required not just audacity but a meticulous recalibration of established norms. The coaching staff, recognizing the profound psychological blow, initiated a series of tactical modifications that diverged from their customary possession-based philosophy. The emphasis shifted dramatically towards relentless verticality and an immediate, aggressive press aimed at stifling Paris Saint-Germain's ability to build from the back. This strategic pivot, a calculated risk given the team's ingrained playing style, necessitated intensive drills in quick transitions and high-intensity defensive lines. Players spent hours refining their collective movement off the ball, ensuring that every lost possession was instantly met with a suffocating meta-press, forcing errors and creating opportunities in advanced positions. Furthermore, the atmosphere within the squad transitioned from one of quiet introspection to a fervent, almost visceral determination. Team meetings focused less on the mechanics of the game and more on the psychological fortitude required to defy the odds. Visualizations of success, discussions on resilience, and a powerful reaffirmation of collective identity became central tenets of their preparation. This was not merely about physical readiness. It was an exercise in mental conditioning, steeling each player for the immense pressure that awaited them. The objective was to cultivate an unwavering belief that, despite the statistical improbability, the outcome was still within their grasp, contingent entirely on their collective will and execution. As the day of the return leg dawned, the city of Barcelona pulsed with an extraordinary energy. The Camp Nou, typically a magnificent arena, transformed into a veritable coliseum of hope. Supporters arrived hours before kickoff, their voices already hoarse from anticipation. Banners proclaiming unwavering belief adorned the stands, and the air thrummed with a unified roar that grew in intensity with every passing minute. This was more than mere attendance. It was a collective act of faith, an intricate tapestry woven from decades of shared triumphs and tribulations. The crowd understood their role was not passive observation, but active participation in forging an environment so intimidating, so relentlessly supportive, that it might just tip the scales against a formidable opponent. When the whistle finally pierced the deafening clamor, the home side launched themselves into the contest with an almost unprecedented ferocity. The tactical adjustments were immediately apparent. Barcelona pressed high, harrying Paris Saint-Germain's defenders with an intensity that bordered on overwhelming. Their passes were sharper, their runs more incisive, and their collective movement off the ball created pockets of space that had been conspicuously absent in the first leg. This aggressive posture yielded almost immediate dividends. Within the first 3 minutes, a surging run down the left flank culminated in a deflected shot that found its way into the net, igniting a fresh wave of euphoria throughout the stadium. The initial, crucial breakthrough had been secured, a tangible manifestation of their collective aspiration. Subsequently, the relentless pressure continued, suffocating Paris Saint-Germain's attempts to settle into any rhythm. Barcelona's players exhibited an insatiable hunger, chasing down every loose ball, contesting every aerial duel, and engaging In every tackle with an almost desperate urgency, this unwavering intensity, coupled with the suffocating atmosphere generated by the home crowd, visibly unsettled the visitors. Their customary composure seemed to fray under the relentless assault, leading to uncharacteristic errors and a growing sense of vulnerability. Consequently, a second goal arrived before the half-hour mark, a testament to the sustained pressure and the precision of their attacking movements. This early success, while significant, also presented a subtle psychological challenge. But a goal, cushion, though vital, was still insufficient to overturn the aggregate deficit. The team had to maintain their frenetic pace without succumbing to complacency or allowing the opposition any respite. It was a delicate balance between aggressive pursuit and disciplined tactical adherence. The early goals were not merely numerical gains, they were profound psychological victories, chipping away at the seemingly insurmountable advantage Paris Saint-Germain held and infusing the Barcelona players with a renewed vigor. The pathway to a comeback, once a distant mirage, was now appearing as a tangible, albeit still challenging, reality, forged by sheer will and strategic execution in the crucible of elite competition. The early tremors of defiance, manifested in the immediate impact on the scoreboard, signaled far more than a numerical shift. They heralded a profound psychological transformation. What began as a desperate plea against the tide of statistical probability quickly morphed into an undeniable current of possibility. The very air within the stadium, once thick with apprehension, became charged with an almost tangible energy, a collective surge of belief that resonated from the stands to the pitch. This was no longer merely a contest of skill, it had evolved into a crucible where the weight of expectations began to shift, slowly but inexorably, from the seemingly secure to the relentlessly pursuing. Reflecting on this remarkable turn, one observes how the meticulous strategic adjustments, implemented with precision and courage, found their perfect counterpoint in an almost primal, unyielding will. The deliberate tactical choices, designed to disrupt and overwhelm, were amplified by an intensity of effort that bordered on the superhuman. Every challenge, every sprint, every incisive pass became a testament to a collective resolve to rewrite a narrative that had just weeks prior seemed irrevocably etched in stone. The concept of an insurmountable lead, once a comfort, now began to feel less like a fortress and more like a structure, whose foundations were being relentlessly eroded by the rising waters of sheer determination. Indeed, what unfolded next was a testament to the fragile nature of certainty in the face of sustained high-stakes pressure. As the seconds ticked away, the initial shock absorbed by one side gave way to a burgeoning confidence on the other, creating a dynamic interplay of shifting momentum. The very rhythm of the game, initially dictated by the secure advantage, fractured under the relentless assault, replaced by a frenetic, almost chaotic energy that favored the aggressor. The once clear path for the leading side became obscured, fraught with unexpected obstacles and the growing sensation of being caught in a powerful, unforgiving undertow. This confluence of factors set the stage for a period of breathtaking tension, where every touch, every decision, and every second carried immense weight. The subtle shifts in body language, the fleeting glimpses of doubt in one camp contrasting with the incandescent focus in the other, spoke volumes. It became clear that the contest was no longer merely about goals, but about the triumph of spirit over circumstance, about the relentless pursuit of an improbable dream. The collective roar of the crowd, a constant, unwavering force, transcended mere support. It became an active participant, an almost mythical 12th player, amplifying every success and cushioning every near miss, further tilting the psychological landscape. The currents of the narrative were unmistakably shifting, demonstrating that even the most formidable barriers can be breached when met with a potent combination of strategic brilliance, unwavering belief, and an almost revolutionary the level of collective effort. As we pivot towards the final reflection on this extraordinary event, consider how this unfolding drama transcends the boundaries of sport, offering profound insights into the nature of resilience, the power of unity, and the enduring human capacity to redefine the limits of what is achievable, even when confronted with seemingly insurmountable odds. The implications of such a monumental reversal reach far beyond the confines of a football pitch, speaking to universal themes of perseverance and the transformative power of hope. The final whistle at Camp Nou that night did not merely signify the end of a football match, it unleashed a primal scream of disbelief and unadulterated joy that rippled across the globe. It was a sound born from the ashes of humiliation, forged in the crucible of impossible odds, and amplified by the collective will of a city What transpired on March 8, 2017, transcended the boundaries of sport, etching itself into the collective consciousness as a testament to the extraordinary power of human endeavor. This was not just a victory, it was a profound declaration that sometimes, against all rational thought and historical precedent, the seemingly insurmountable can be overcome through sheer unwavering conviction. The immediate aftermath saw the coining of a new lexicon in football, la remontada, a term that instantly encapsulated the audacious, almost mythical nature of the comeback. It became more than a scoreline, it transformed into a symbol, a narrative, shorthand for defying the dictates of logic and statistics. This event reverberated far beyond the pitch, inspiring conversations about resilience, about the fragility of certainty, and about the inherent human capacity to challenge perceived limits. For the players who lived through it, it was a moment of visceral understanding of what it means to push beyond the brink of exhaustion and despair, propelled by an unseen force of collective belief. The weight of the initial defeat had been crushing, but the release of achieving the impossible was an almost spiritual experience. What truly elevated this particular comeback from a mere statistical anomaly to a legendary narrative was the synthesis of meticulous preparation and an almost revolutionary level of psychological fortitude. It was a powerful demonstration that tactical brilliance, while crucial, finds its ultimate expression when coupled with an indomitable spirit. The strategic adjustments made by the coaching staff were bold and precise, but they were animated by the players' unwavering commitment to execute them under the most intense pressure imaginable. Each sprint, each tackle, each pass became an act of defiance, a small but significant contribution to a larger, improbable tapestry of success. This was a masterclass not only in football, but in the art of sustained collective effort against a backdrop of overwhelming skepticism. The enduring legacy of that night at Camp Nou stretches far beyond the record books. It serves as a perennial reminder that even in moments of profound adversity, when the path ahead seems utterly blocked, the capacity for transformation remains. It illustrates the symbiotic relationship between a team and its faithful. How the fervent belief of thousands can converge into an almost tangible energy, propelling athletes to levels of performance they might not have thought possible. Roar of the crowd was not just background noise, it was an active participant, a relentless drumbeat of encouragement that chipped away at the opposition's resolve and bolstered the home side's unflagging spirit. This unique alchemy between players and supporters became the invisible force that turned an improbable dream into a stunning reality. Ultimately, the story of Barcelona's comeback against Paris Saint-Germain is more than a chapter in football history. It is a universal parable. It speaks to the core human desire to overcome, to innovate, and to believe in the face of daunting odds. It challenges us to reconsider what we deem impossible, urging us to look beyond immediate setbacks and instead find the seeds of possibility within moments of despair. The true practice begins now, not just on the pitch, but in every endeavor where the odds seem stacked against us. This extraordinary event stands as a vivid testament to the unpredictable beauty of life, reminding us that with unwavering belief, strategic courage, and a unified will, even the most formidable barriers can be breached, and the most captivating stories can be written, one defiant step at a time.